My name was Felix. I was the steward in the house of Senator Gnaeus Calpurnius Piso, the same Piso who stood in the Senate in 65 and almost ended Nero's reign with one speech. 37 years I served there, from the day I was bought at 16 until the day they handed me my wooden freedom tablet and told me I was too old to be useful anymore. I opened doors, I closed doors, I carried keys to every room, every chest, every secret that house ever had. Tonight I'm going to tell you the one thing that even the lowest kitchen boy would only whisper when the lamps were out and the dogs were asleep. In that house we had 5 daughters born to the master and his wife, plus 4 daughters of clients and 1 cousin, who was sent to us at 7, to be raised properly. 10 girls in total passed through my hands. Every single one between 13 and 16 heard the same quiet words one morning while the rest of us pretended to be busy polishing silver. It is time. No questions allowed. No tears allowed in public. It was simply the next line in the ledger. I personally walked in 14 wedding processions carrying the gifts. 14 times I watched the same thing happen from the inside. I will take you through every step, slowly, the way it really went, so you understand why I still wake up at night when the wind rattles the shutters. It always started the same way. One morning the master called the entire household to the atrium, before the sun had fully cleared the roof tiles. He stood on the edge of the impluvium and read the marriage contract aloud. Every clause, every coin of the dowry, every penalty if the girl was returned damaged or proved unsuitable. The girl stood barefoot on the cold mosaic of dolphins and sea monsters. She was never once allowed to lift her eyes from the floor. I watched this 14 times. Same contract tone. Same silence that you could cut with a kitchen knife. 2 days later the doctor arrived. Always the same man. Titus Statilius Taurus, Greek freedman with soft hands and the coldest eyes I ever saw. He charged 500 sesterces just to cross the threshold, another 500 for the examination. 2 Thracian women twice her size held the girl's arms spread. The mother stood at the door staring at a crack in the wall because looking would have been too much. 5 minutes of silence, then the wax tablet. Virgo intacta. Apta ad nuptias et partum. No defects. He pocketed his gold, bowed, and left whistling. I walked him to the gate every single time. Then came the 30-day preparation. 30 days, not a week. The girl was moved to the locked women's wing. Breakfast, 1 small barley roll and water. Lunch, nothing. Dinner, a bowl of lentils if she hadn't fainted that day. Every single morning the old Syrian nurse measured waist, hips, chest, neck, and wrists with a knotted cord. 1 extra knot and the food disappeared completely until the cord was satisfied again. Hair washed with real saffron dye that came from Cilicia. 1 small jar cost more than I earned in a year. Skin scrubbed raw with pumice stone, then rubbed with olive oil mixed with lead white until it shone like polished marble. Nails cut short, so there are no accidents on the wedding night. And every evening for 1 full hour, the same lesson drilled into her head. Look only at the floor. Count the tiles if you have to. Do not speak. Do not cry. Do not move unless he tells you to. If it hurts, bite the pillow or your own arm. If you bleed on the sheets, that is good. If you do not bleed, pretend you did. Your only job tonight is to lie still and let him finish. That is all Rome will ever ask of you. Do it well and you will be praised. Do it badly and the whole family pays. I stood guard outside the bedroom door on the first night in 11 of those 14 cases. My orders never changed. If the screaming carries past the second corridor, go in with the poppy mixed in strong wine. I went in 7 times. 7 cups. Some girls drank it without a word. Some fought until we had to pry their teeth open. 1 girl, the master's own niece just turned 14, refused the cup and bit through her lower lip instead of making a sound. The blood soaked the pillow and dripped onto the floor. 10 years later, when they replaced the marble, the dark stain was still there under the new slab. The morning after was always public theater. At the first hint of light, the mother-in-law, the chief midwife, and 4 senior female slaves marched in carrying fresh white sheets, folded like military standards. They stripped the bed in front of the girl while she sat on a stool with her head down. If the stain was there, they smiled and congratulated her like she had just won a crown at the games. If it wasn't, they looked at her like she had robbed the family of its honor. Then the stained sheet was carried out and hung from the balcony facing the street for the whole neighborhood to see. Proof that the transaction was complete. After that started the monthly accounting that sometimes lasted years. Every full moon the girl had to present herself in the laundry courtyard at dawn. Sheets on the line like flags. Every female slave in the house was ordered to walk past slowly and pretend they saw nothing. No blood for 3 months. Celebration dinner. Extra wine for the whole household. Public praise. Blood every month. Silence. Bitter fertility herbs that made her vomit until she couldn't stand. And quiet conversations in the master's study about possibly returning faulty goods and demanding part of the dowry back. I remember Flavia Paulina, 14 when her father sent her to us from Capua. 17 when her husband finally sent her back. First year, she still tried to laugh at dinner. Second year, she stopped speaking entirely. Just walked the corridors like someone who had forgotten where the doors led. Her husband's note was one line. Does not perform marital duties. Her father wouldn't even let her through the gate. Sent her to the estate near Tiber. The overseer wrote me years later. She sat under the same olive tree every day until she died at 19. Official cause of death. Fever. Calpurnia Chrysula, the senator's own daughter. 15 when they gave her to Lucius Seius Strabo, Praetorian prefect, 48 years old, built like a siege tower. She lasted 18 months. Pregnant quickly. Everyone praised her. 7th month, she accidentally spilled wine on her mother-in-law's stola at dinner. That night, I heard the bronze lampstand hitting flesh from the kitchen. Dull thuds. No screaming. Child born dead. She faded away in 3 weeks. At the funeral, the husband shrugged in front of 200 guests. Weak blood on her mother's side. Nothing to be done. Emilia Lepida, 13 and a half, promised since she was 7. Groom 55, old friend of Tiberius, half paralyzed from a stroke. Wedding night the old man couldn't finish. Next day demanded half the dowry back. Merchandise unused. Father paid without argument. 2 years later the old man died. The heirs sold her contract to a brothel in Subura. I saw her 12 years later selling watered wine outside the circus. She didn't recognize me. Claudia, 15, tried to run the night before the wedding. Caught at Porta Capena. Dragged back by the hair. Wedding went ahead the next morning anyway. Liciniia, 14, stole hemlock from the gardener. Drank it. Survived blind and twisted. They kept her in the house as a living warning to the younger girls. Tullia, barely 13, married to cover her father's gambling debts to a Syrian merchant. 3 miscarriages before she was 16. Then one winter she simply disappeared. No one ever asked where. 14 girls. 14 orange veils. 14 closed doors. Nobody ever called it violence. It was called sacred marriage. It was called continuing the family line. It was called the way things have always been. I walked out of that house in the year 68 when Nero cut his own throat. The new master gave me my freedom and 3 jugera of vineyard near VI. Now I sit here every evening with a cup of sour wine and watch the road. Sometimes a wedding procession passes by in the distance. Little girls in orange veils. Same silence in the eyes. Same fear you can smell 50 paces away. The priests still chant the old words. The fathers still weigh the dowry coins. The doctors still write, apta ad nuptias. And nobody on that road ever talks about what happens when the doors finally close. So I talk. Because I was there. I carried the gifts. I poured the poppy. I hung the sheets. I opened the doors. I closed the doors. And 37 years later, I still remember every single name. Felix, former slave of the Calpurnii. Now just an old man who knows too much. The vineyard is quiet. But the nights are not.